Hello there and welcome to the channel. My name is Ross, and in a previous video we looked at how you can create a player template, a scout report template. In this video we're going to look at how you can make a more impressive, more detailed, more visual and graphic player report or analysis report, whichever you prefer, that you can send to football clubs, you can send to scouts, head scouts, sporting directors, and you can use as your version for a portfolio to show how you do your analysis and how you analyze and scout a player. So let's get into it. So let's have a look at one that I use at the moment. I start with a front page just to kind of draw in attention, gain attraction, just so people can see what it's about to start with. The name obviously stands out very clearly of the player, player report in big bold letters, and something a bit graphic just to gain attention and get people to look at it. If you're using it as something you can display on social media. If you're sending it directly to a scout, potentially you probably don't really need to do this, but I like to do it for that reason. On the second page, this is where I tend to put all the important information and a general kind of overview of the player so that anyone reading this, a scout, head scout, sporting director, they can kind of understand a lot more about the player from the first initial page. You don't want to clutter it, so you don't want too many things on there. Sometimes I see some reports like this where they have rows and rows and rows of text with big bulky images, and I think sometimes that it's not very clear, the details. So I've got the player details just on the left hand side here, the typical things like date of birth, team, height, weight, foot number, contract, until. So this gives us a very good understanding of the player's age and where he is, etc. Player data. So I try to compile some data from the main league that the player plays in this case, the Brasileirão Serie A. You could put the Champions League. It's up to you, you can mix this if you want to. You can get rid of some of the data here and put more data from the games that they've played in other competitions. But I try to stick with games, minutes, and things like that. Now here, I like to put a little bit of a background information or introduction part. This is just to help the person reading it understand the background where the player came from. Is he from the academy? Has he come out of nowhere? Has he come from Africa, from a small academy there? Where has he come from? And where is his current status as well? We get all this information and we can start to understand where we need to track the player. Strengths, weaknesses. I've included a little bit of a graphic here just to make it stand out a little bit more. But I always think this is important to go on the first page, as it's very easy to just quickly summarize the player with a few highlights. Now, when you're doing the strengths and weaknesses, you really want to focus on a particular ability, a particular characteristic, or a particular department of the player's game. For example, game reading. So I'm not going to explain what they do, but I'm just going to put his strong point is game reading. So in the report, I'll explain that more. But just for this part, I'm going to cover this. I'm just going to explain it in bullet points. Here on the right hand side, you don't necessarily have to do this. I've put like a rating for the player's physical, pace, psychological, etc. section here out of 10. I'll show you how to do that. And I've dragged the heat map from SofaScore just to show you where the player is kind of on the pitch. Now, that just gives me a kind of summary of what kind of player he is, where his position, his strengths, his weaknesses. And then from there, I can go a little bit deeper. Now, one thing that you can do at this point is you can add things like data. You have to scrape the data and then just put it onto the portfolio. But I'm going to go into the next section, which is just basically all of the scouting detail that I've done. As I said, it's a little bit more in detail, this report. I'll show you how to put all that in. And then I've just got a section here that covers what he's doing in defense and what he's doing in defense, with a little bit of a graphic just to help people who are reading understand the player's position visually. And then finally, a summary, just to really kind of allow the sporting director, scout, to really see what the overall impression is of this player if they wish to go that deep. And that's how my reports look. Let's create it. Okay, so if you want to head to canva.com, in the previous video you may have set up a account. So if you just want to hit that, you can do this for free as well, most of it. So all you want to do here is hit presentation. So when we created the original player template, we actually used a template from the Canva options. You can do that here. I tend to use this one here, this business project one at the top. But to help you really kind of build it yourself, I'm going to do everything on its own. So this is going to be the cover image. I'm just going to change the color of the background to one that I find suitable. So once you've chose your background color, click on text on the left hand side and hit add a heading. I'm going to put the player's name in. You can put Scout Report, whatever you prefer. So I'm going to add more text to this now. So I changed the font to how I want it and I lined it all up. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put a little image in. So if you go to Elements and you type in, I'm going to type in Brazil because I operate in Brazil and this player is from Brazil too. And I'm going to put the landmass. You don't have to do this. I just like to include it as a feature. So I've added it there. So I put it in position, make it larger. And if you want to change the opacity, make it less transparent or more transparent, just drag this here. The next thing I'm going to do is put an image of the player. So download it from Google. Once it's on your desktop, all you need to do is drag it into Canva. And then the next thing you wish to do is click on the image and click background remover. And I'm going to change the size of the image. So I've changed the image and dragged it to where I think it looks best. And that's the front cover. So you can add your details here. If you want to be contacted, I recommend you do that if you're going to send that to clubs. So let's go to the next page. Once I've changed the color of the background to white, I'm going to choose an element. So click on elements. And what I want to do is I want to get a shape. So I'll choose this box here. And I'm going to drag it across the entire page here. So I've dragged it right across here. As you can see, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this frame. So if you go to frame, you'll find it in there. And I'm going to put it into this part here. And then I'm going to do the same again. I have a picture of the player, a portrait picture of him. I already uploaded it, but you can do what I did before and just drag it onto the platform. And then I'm going to drag his portfolio into the frame, just like we did in the other template, and then make it so it fits and it's nice and in line. I'm now going to go ahead and add some text to the top. So I'm going to choose a subheading and the player's name. Again, I'll put it into here, change the style. So I put the font the same as the home page, the front page, and I also added the player report here. Now, a couple of the little features that I'm going to do is I'm going to drag a Brazil flag. I'm just going to put it into some space here. I'm also going to get a crest of the team that he plays for, Corinthians. So I find it on Google and I add it to here, just like before. And then I make sure it all looks quite tidy. And that's like the bar that I'm going to use for every page. So once I've got that bar at the top, I'm now going to add in the data that is important. So you want to try to keep it in columns. I'm going to use 3 and I'll show you how to do that. So let's start off adding the headers. So player data. I'm going to make that smaller and drag it into somewhere that looks in line, right about here. And then I'm actually going to go ahead and add the data too. So for example, name, date of birth, make sure that you align things up. So just click on this alignment button here, change the font, needs to be much smaller than that. And then I'm going to actually just move it in there. So I'm going to go ahead and complete this. So I went ahead and completed it and just changed the font to match. You can do that, just play around with it. And then the next section is going to be the player details. So I'm just going to copy and paste my previous header, move it down there so it looks like it's in line. And then once again, I'm going to copy and paste things. Just makes things much easier. Obviously that doesn't fit, so I'm going to sort that out. And then I've got things in line here. Just play with it, make sure it looks good, it's all in line. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just add a little bit of information. So I want to include the source of this data, and it's from the Brasileirão 2024. So it's actually from last season. Make sure I don't make any spelling mistakes. I'm going to put it in italics and put the star first just so people know what it refers to. And then I'm going to make it quite small, maybe even less than 16, maybe like 12. And then I'm going to just drop it underneath it. So when people read that, they know where it's from. And that's our first column done. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the second column. So just copy and paste the title and then change the name to, it could be anything. I'm going to put background and introduction. This is going to be where we explain the player and just introduce some small details about him. And you also want to select a little bit of body of text here as well. And then just make that in line. And we're also then going to change the size of it so it fits the same as the other text we have. And then you can add the detail in here about the player. So ahead and added the detail here. It might not always fit. Try to get things in line. So try to make it fit the bottom of what you've got on the left hand side. If you don't have enough information, just try to find a way to align it. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add the strengths and weaknesses. The first thing I'm going to do is go to Elements, and I'm going to choose a box. Change the color of the box to something that looks good. I chose like a really light gray color. And then add it here. And then copy and paste that and add two. So again, play around with it, make sure that it fits. So I've got my two boxes here. I've actually just rounded them as well. So if you want to do that, click on this, click on the box and then click on this corner rounding and you can adjust it. So now I'm going to put the text in. So double click on it and then just start typing. Now I want to put this in bullet format. So click on list and it should put it into a list. And then just complete the details about the player that you want to include here. So as you can see, we've added the information, the strengths and the weaknesses now. So now you want a header for each of these sections. Again, just copy and paste the previous header, drag this into here. I'm going to put this one a little bit more in the middle and then just choose strengths. If you want to put it in centralize it, alignment, just click alignment and it will go into the middle. And I'll do the same again for weaknesses. So I went ahead and did that and straightened them. Now I'm going to add the little visual things in just to make it a little bit interesting. It also is eye-catching. It helps them to see. So if you go to Elements and then you type tick. So click on green tick. So I went ahead and found the green tick that I like the most. And I'm just going to alter the size of it. I'm then going to do the same for red cross. So type in red cross. And once you find one you like, add that too. And that's the second column complete. So you don't have to add these elements in if you don't wish to. You might just want to keep it a bit simpler than that. Now we're going to go to the third column. So for the third column, we're going to copy and paste the header and move it across. And this is actually going to be player ratings. So this is where we're going to include that little graph, the bar that showed you the players' ratings. So what you want to do is you want to click on Elements. You want to go down until you see Charts. Click on See All and then click on See All again because we're going to use a bar chart and we're going to select this one here. So the information is not correct. Let's change the information. So the first thing you want to do is you want to click on Edit and then from here you could just go to Label and you can name them. So pace, physical, name all the ones that you think are important. And then in series 1 here, this bar to the right, this is where we're going to rank it. So you could say like pace 6 out of 10, physical 7 out of 10, psychological, then you could say something like 7 out of 10, and then keep going. Now, to make sure that it stays out of 10, the ranking, click customize, go to X axis, and then when you see maximum, click or type 10, excuse me, and then hit data. And you'll see here that within the bar, the limit is 10. And now you can see all of the sections of the player ratings all ranked out of 10. There's other things you can do with this chart. You can make them a bit smaller, just rearrange it so that you like it. And the last section here is we need the heat map if you wish to include one. So we're going to take it from SofaScore. So I got it from there. I took a screenshot and I'm now going to drag it onto the screen. And then it's just a case of aligning it. And then you want to do the same thing again here. You want to say where you sourced that from. So I've just copy and pasted that. And I'm going to put sourced from SofaScore. And there we go. And that should be how the first page looks. So this is where all the information is. And you can see all the key details of the player. So now we're going to get into the actual analysis. The thing I want to do here is actually duplicate the page. So if you go down to number 2 and hit the 3 dots, you'll be able to duplicate the page. That's so that I keep the template in place. But I need to remove all of this information here as I'm going to change the style. So I've gone ahead and deleted all information because I want to keep the theme the same. And now I'm going to start to add in each characteristic. So we're going to start with pace. So if you want to go to the text, and again, select subheader. And we're going to go with physical. So this will be one section, physical. So I've made that small and put it in place, aligned it as it was before. Now we're going to add a little bit of body of text. So go to your scout report, and this is where you want to start to actually put the body of detail in about the player. So I've got my report up. I'm going to go ahead and add the detail from physical into here. I've added the information in and I've also lined it up. I've just put a couple of like subheaders here, like pace, strength and agility. This just makes it easier to identify and skim read the report if somebody wishes to do that. I'm now going to go ahead and create the other sections. So the next one that I need across here is mental and psychological. Rather than have to create a new text, I'm just going to copy and paste it, drag it in there just so it's all in line. And then I can go ahead and delete this information and put the information from my scout report into here. Once again, I've just put a couple of subheaders, personality and approach. You can go ahead and do whatever you feel is necessary for the mental psychology section. I'm now going to go ahead and complete this report with all the sections that I see necessary. Copy and pasted the headers, copy and pasted the text, and then just copied over it with my information from my scout report, and then just aligned it all up. So now you've got the full page with all the information that you need. Remember, use subheaders if you wish to, because it will help whoever's reading it identify the specific subsections. And that's your next page done. I'm going to do the same again. I'm going to hit these 3 dots and duplicate. And once again, I'm going to delete all this information that I don't need again. I've just left one header up because I'm going to change that. So I've gone ahead and changed that. Now I'm going to actually take some data and add a Google chart. I will show you how to do this in another video, but for today's purpose, I'm just going to show you how it looks. So this data is actually a Google sheet that I've actually scraped off one of the websites. I think I used FBref, and I got some data for the player. I'll show you how to do that in another video. So if you click on edit and then you come to customize, what you can do is you can decide where these numbers go. So you can put them inside the bars, you can put them outside, or you can put them inside. You can also center them or put them at the base as well. I prefer on the outside because it's easier to locate and you can see. Now you can see it's out of 100, so the percentile of the data is there. So once again, go ahead and duplicate the page by hitting those 3 dots. And we'll delete the information and create a clean page. So I'm going to leave this header in. I'm just going to rename it to In Defense. And this is a section where I'm going to talk about his ability in defense. So you can go back and copy and paste some body of text here. So I went ahead and copy and pasted the body of text from the previous page. And then I've just put in my information from my scout report that was on my desktop. And I've just once again put some subheaders here so we know which specific defensive aspect we're talking about. And now I'm going to include some images. Now I created these myself, but you may be able to locate them online. So let's have a look how you can do that. So I actually made this image in Canva just using dots and a football pitch that you can actually find if you search for it and then change the color to how you wish it to be. It takes a little bit of time to do this, so maybe I'll show you how to do it in the future. And then I'm going to go ahead and complete the bottom part for the inner fence section. And there we go, we have our inner fence section. I just include these just to show what he's doing in these particular aspects. Of course, there's many other phases of the game that you can show, but I want to focus on these two in particular. So if you want to do that, I'll show you in another video how to create these, but you may be able to find something online that you can just drop in here as well. So onto the final page. Again, what you want to do is you want to hit the 3 dots and duplicate the page. And then we will delete all of this once again. Now to add some variation, I'm just going to switch the section of the text to the other side. So I'm going to put it here and I'm going to call this section summary. So I'm going to add a little bit of body of text, and this is just going to be like an overview of his role in the game that I watched, explain the player's main characteristics and where we see him in the future and whether we should continue to pursue him. So I'm going to go ahead and type that in now. So that's a summary. I've got the role here, subheader, and then a summary as well. A scout or a sporting director may just come to the end of this instead of going through all your analysis, but at least you've got a step-by-step process of the analysis throughout this report. Now, just to finish with, I'm going to add another image. So you can use a similar image, same image, different image. It's up to you. Whatever you see looks best. Once again, use the background remover on that image, and I'm just going to straighten it out and move it. And I'm just going to straighten it out and then move it here and make it a little bit larger and put it in place. And that's the final page. So there you have your report. All you need to do is just share it and download it as a PDF. Now, of course, if you wish to do another player, all you need to do is just delete the information that you've added in. Now, what I would recommend that you do actually is create a skeleton template. So take out all the details that you have put in of this player, including the heat map, including the image here, and all the details down here. Just have the whole template blank so that whenever you do a player, you just go to the skeleton one that you've got, create a duplicate and type into the duplicate rather than the skeleton one. So then you're not having to delete and add new information every single time. You just need to add the information into the blank one. So try that. And you should now have your impressive, highly detailed template. Of course, change it how you suit, the colors, theme, etc. Maybe you want to reorganize the layout. Maybe you don't want to have as much detail that I've put in, or maybe you want to have even more. So it's up to you. Just move things around, try to make things aligned. But at least you have something there that you can now create for yourself when you're doing your scout reports to send to head scouts, clubs, etc. And really kind of showcase your ability, your portfolio on social media or where else. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give it a like. And please comment as well to say if you enjoyed this video and if you want anything else prepared in the future. So thank you for watching again. See you next time.